Tonight, 4 straight days of devastating wildfires in Southern California. The race for firefighters to contain the blazes. Survivors return to what's left of their neighborhoods. The children whose schools are gone.
I'm just really sad at that because I love that school.
I'm totally innocent. I did nothing wrong.
Trump avoids jail time as he becomes the first felon president. And TikTok makes its final plea before the Supreme Court just 9 days before the popular app is set to be banned.
To say TikTok changed my life is an understatement.
The CBS Evening News starts now. Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois in for Nora on the ground in a burned out neighborhood in the Pacific Palisades section of Los Angeles, where finally firefighters are beginning to make progress in battling those deadly wildfires. But the fight ahead will be hard and the window to make progress is short. Dangerous flame-driving winds are forecast to pick back up tomorrow night. The risk remains immense. Around 160,000 people under evacuation orders as 6 fires burn. The 2 largest ones are less than 10% contained. At least 11 people have died here. Officials say we could learn of more deaths as cadaver dogs search through burned out neighborhoods. It is now estimated that more than 12,000 homes and other structures have been destroyed. We have teams across the fire zone, starting with CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti, who is again putting tough questions to the mayor over the city's response. And Jonathan, there is another controversy tonight.
Maurice, that's right. Officials here are facing growing criticism, not just over that chaotic response, but now a new nightmare for those already on edge.
Hundreds of thousands remain evacuated as new fires keep igniting, threatening more neighborhoods. And as the fires continue to burn, residents here are fuming.
Now is not the time to put all of LA in complete panic.
The erroneous messages being sent out, I can't express enough how sorry I am for this experience.
Phone warnings are a potential lifesaver in those critical first moments. This one from Tuesday night worked, as it should. But 10 million residents of LA County have received multiple false emergency evacuation warnings.
Well, I'm going to assume it is a false alarm like the one earlier.
My question is for Mayor Bass. Millions of people receive false alarms. It's been acknowledged here in this room that many may now be deactivating their alerts. What are you doing at this point to earn back people's trust and to make sure these mistakes don't happen again?
Well, first of all, I think that was addressed at the beginning of the press conference by Kevin McGowan.
I would like that from you. I don't. You're the top official here.
So let me just be clear. I am going to spend every moment that I can making sure that I am in as many areas as possible. We want to see the city rebuilt.
But you are deflecting from the question. You have millions of people here who get these alerts. They are ignoring them. There is a real threat here. What is your message to your constituents who are losing faith?
I want the residents of Los Angeles region to have faith. We are doing everything we can to bring the situation under control.
And the National Guard is here on scene to stop looting and to enforce a nightly curfew, Maurice.
Tough but important questions. Jonathan Vigliotti, thanks so much. CBS's Rob Marciano spent the day embedded with the LA County Fire Department as crews went through the disaster zone from the Palisades fire, putting out flare-ups. And here's what they encountered.
Before the sun rose over the Palisades fire, you could see the buildings still burning. Here we are day 4, and there are these hot spots smoldering just about everywhere. Not far from this gym that's been up in flames. Firefighters here are wetting it down, but they say it's really not worth saving. We can try and make as much progress. We head into the heart of the incinerated fire zone. Burning debris is falling into the road.
We just saw this start flaring up, so that's when we were like, hey, let's try to knock it down.
For LA County firefighters battling this wildfire, no flames are too small to snuff out.
We decided to engage and not let it progress.
Personnel on high alert in a landscape of bone-dry brush that could quickly ignite into a fast-moving blaze.
Amazing just how aggressively brush like this can burn. Look at that go up. Winds right now relatively light. These guys are having a hard time.
You're back on and got more hose.
This strike team, made up of 5 engine units, worked together in shifts. clearing paths to the hotspots to lay down hose lines and create fire breaks. And as part of more than 8,000 personnel attacking these fires, they're beginning to make some progress. Now at least 8% contained, crews have established lines around some of the perimeter to prevent it from spreading.
What's been your biggest challenge the past 2 days?
The biggest challenge is just how dynamic the fire has been moving, as well as working on the rotation of crews to constantly keep people on the fire at all times.
Maurice, these guys work 24-hour physical shifts. We were just out there a couple of hours carrying nothing and we were exhausted. The winds have died down now, but as you mentioned, they're coming back tomorrow night, and there's no rain in the forecast for at least a week.
We can really see how tough it is.
Real tough.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate it. Well, the fires here in the Los Angeles area have thrown the school year into turmoil. At least a dozen schools have burned, impacting more than 5,700 students. CBS's Lilia Luciano talked to the children affected by all of this.
In Altadena alone, almost 2,000 students have nowhere to go to school now. It's hard to make sense of the rubble, but this is the remains of what was the auditorium of a magnet middle school in Altadena, one of many that have been completely destroyed. Here we've seen parents, students, and alumni show up and stare in disbelief. Just a mile away, that is the shock some Fair Oaks Academy students were experiencing today.
Where's your classroom? Okay.
7-year-old Lucy Van Boris can't wrap her mind around losing her school.
When you close your eyes and you think about your school, what are you picturing in your mind?
I'm just really sad at that because I loved that school.
What did you love about it?
I loved my friends there. I loved my teacher. I loved the playground and PE.
She says evacuating her home felt like a bad dream.
I was really scared. I mean, it was in the middle of the night when it was happening, so I'm still a little bit scared of the dark.
When 10-year-old Hudson and his 7-year-old brother Atticus evacuated,
we were sitting at our dining room table, and we could see the glow of the fire over our courtyard wall.
Hours later, their father, a firefighter, saw their home engulfed in flames.
That's my house right there. Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. We're trying not to show them some of the images because it would be just so heartbreaking.
Why were you sad? Because I love going to school.
School is a big part of it because that's really where it's the foundation of a family's daily life. And now we don't have that anymore.
The LA Unified School District will determine over the weekend whether children will go back to school on Monday. As for where those kids who lost their schools will go, Maurice, it's still too soon to know.
We can feel their heartbreak. Lilia Luciano, thank you so much. Well, joining us now to discuss the federal response to this disaster is Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan. And Margaret, this is expected to be one of the most expensive disasters ever in California. We know the federal government is offering its help. Do we have a sense of what that's actually going to look like?
We don't have a number yet, no, Maurice, but we do know President Biden has pledged that the federal government will provide 100% of funding for the first 6 months. But he's only president for 10 more days, and it is not clear yet if Donald Trump plans to change the policy when he takes office. He's been publicly critical of California Governor Gavin Newsom this week. During the first term, he threatened to withhold disaster assistance to Newsom, but ultimately did approve it. Late today, Governor Newsom invited Mr. Trump to California to work on the recovery effort together. Here in Washington, Republican leaders tell CBS they're not opposed to putting together another relief package if needed, and they discussed it behind closed doors this week.
And Margaret, the FEMA director briefed the president today. What did we learn there?
Well, she said 10,000 people have already applied for federal assistance, and the costs are expected to climb. One of the biggest may be related to lack of insurance coverage. Today, California state government declared a moratorium on companies canceling insurance policies. This has been a problem, Maurice, even before the fires, particularly for Americans living in disaster-prone areas like Florida, Louisiana, really up and down the Atlantic seaboard. Congress has been looking at this issue and how to fix it, because if homes become uninsurable, the values of the homes themselves plummet. There's no quick fixes.
It just feels like one disaster after another. Margaret, thanks so much. Margaret's guests, by the way, on Sunday's Face the Nation include the FEMA administrator and California Congresswoman Judy Chu. Turning now to the nation's midsection, where a winter storm sent snow and ice as far south as Georgia. At Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, a Delta flight aborted takeoff, forcing more than 200 passengers to evacuate onto a snowy tarmac. 4 people were injured. The pilot reported an engine issue. Atlanta saw 3.5 inches of snow, the most there in 7 years. In just 10 days, Donald Trump will become the first U.S. president to assume office as a convicted felon. Trump was formally sentenced today in the Stormy Daniels hush money case. He received a rare unconditional discharge, which leaves his conviction intact without punishment. CBS's Weijia Jiang explains.
For the historic sentencing in New York, President-elect Trump appeared virtually from Mar-a-Lago, attacking the proceedings as he did during the trial and maintaining his innocence.
This has been a very terrible experience. I did nothing wrong.
But a New York jury convicted Trump of 34 counts of falsifying business records, part of a scheme to cover up payment to former porn star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 election. He faced up to 4 years in prison, but Judge Juan Merchan did not impose any jail time, fines, or probation, noting that it was only because Trump's upcoming presidency protected him from punishment.
Donald Trump, the ordinary citizen, Donald Trump, the criminal defendant, would not be entitled to such considerable protections.
The sentencing went forward despite Trump's last-ditch effort to delay it, asking the Supreme Court to intervene. But in a razor-thin 5-4 decision, 2 conservative justices joined the 3 liberals to rule against him. He now becomes the first felon to occupy the Oval Office. Judge Merchan, a frequent target of Trump's, had the last word in court.
Sir, I wish you Godspeed as you assume your second term in office.
Trump cannot pardon himself here because this was a state case and not a federal one. But the president-elect says he will appeal, a process that could take several months or even longer. And just like his sentencing request, this case could end up at the Supreme Court. Maurice?
Weijia Jiang in South Florida, thanks so much. Well, TikTok could be banned in just about a week and a half unless the Supreme Court puts a stop to it. Which way the justices appear to be leaning, that's next. The Supreme Court heard a last-ditch appeal today from the immensely popular online platform TikTok. CBS's Jan Crawford was in court for the arguments.
See how I look very presentable?
For TikTok, the clock is ticking. With justices troubled, the popular social media app is more than funny videos.
Congress and the president were concerned that China was accessing information about millions of Americans, tens of millions of Americans, including teenagers.
Those kind of national security concerns drove Congress to pass a law ordering China-based ByteDance sell TikTok by January 19th or shut down in the U.S.
They're not saying TikTok has to stop. They're saying that the Chinese have to stop controlling TikTok.
A lawyer for the Biden administration told the justices the Chinese company has spied on Americans.
There was a well-publicized incident where ByteDance in China surveilled U.S. journalists.
One was Emily Baker White of Forbes, after she wrote stories critical of the company.
I had TikTok on my phone as a reporter covering TikTok. And so ByteDance could look up all of the places that I was going. So whenever I went to a coffee shop or a bar, a restaurant, a library, and used, and was using my phone from there, they would be able to tell that.
But TikTok and free speech advocates say the law amounts to censorship.
There's never been a law like this that had such a sweeping effect and such a sweeping ban on such a widely used speech platform.
Now, one possible approach with next Sunday's deadline looming, the court could enter a brief pause. That would give TikTok maybe a little more time to find a U.S. buyer. Maurice?
Jan Crawford, thank you. Well, they barely got out alive, but the video of their escape went viral. A family story is next. The dramatic video of a family escaping from their Los Angeles home moments before it went up in flames caused an outpouring on social media. It logged millions of views in a matter of hours. Well, we wondered how the family was doing, and today we found out. Despite their efforts to save the family home, 30-year-old Orly Israel
let's get out of here. We tried.
And his friend Tanner Charles knew they were in trouble.
Gotta get out of here.
Video of their harrowing escape from Tuesday night's inferno was posted on X. It's now amassed more than 8 million views. Orly's father, David, watched it in disbelief.
Oh, my goodness.
Today, we drove with David and Orly as they returned to their Palisades home of 20 years for the first time since the fire.
It was such a beautiful, beautiful, curated house. I wanted to come back to my house and be there and see it in person and mourn it in person, and I wanted to do it with Orly.
You said mourning in person?
Yeah. I love this house. This house was really a member of the family, and just to see the destruction is just gut-wrenching.
Hidden in the rubble, memories.
Grandma made this. This is crazy. It survived.
The Israel family has had to move to 3 different locations since evacuating, living essentially as nomads. What are you going to do now?
It's a really good question, and I don't know.
But not all is lost.
I'm really sad for my community that everybody has lost everything and just had so many wonderful times here. And the good news for me is that I still remember those times. The times aren't gone, the memories aren't gone, the house is gone. But the love that was in the house, that's still in me.
And David told me he refuses to feel sorry for himself. He recognizes there are thousands of people in the same situation here, and he finds that humbling. On the Road is next.
This portion of the CBS Evening News is sponsored by Mucinex, 12-hour relief for your chest congestion.
And from the fire zone here in LA, I'm Maurice Dubois in for Nora. Good night.